So far we've covered that little fib I forgot to identify as David Shelsted. Here it is again real quick.
Regards to next steps, we're going to be retaining a geotechnical engineer, and what they're going to help us is identify the appropriate road segments for pavement condition. Staff have this expertise. Staff have this expertise. Staff have this expertise.
The geotechnical engineer, you said we have some geotechnical engineers on staff presently?
Mr. Shelsted.
Through you, Madam Chair, no, we do not. Staff have this expertise.
The geotechnical engineer, you said we have some geotechnical engineers on staff presently?
Mr. Shelsted.
Through you, Madam Chair, no, we do not.
WSP fib. Nope. Let's call it what it is. A lie. This is their report, and they claim to have used a feeler gauge. This is what a true straight edge and feeler gauge look like. WSP is a global company. I've read comments about people thinking this makes them more credible. Saying on one page they used a feeler gauge and then saying they measured a loonie and a quarter to be 3 millimeters isn't exactly credible. Plus, we used a digital caliper to measure 1 loonie and 1 quarter. The same two coins, depending on how you stack them, actually have 4 different readings for thickness. I think digital is more accurate. Plus, you can't calibrate pocket change.
It doesn't make sense. It's probably not true. This is based on common sense and my experience.
I'm also a coin collector, and I could tell you more about pocket change, but this is about WSP's credibility compared to RSR's credibility. We left off with the questions. Is the subject line the true limits of the contract? Is page 2 correct with the limits being Falconbridge to Leveque? Is the tender on the city's website the true limits? At this point, with WSP identifying 2 different road sections so far, there are more coming. I skipped to something that is measurable. The OPSS.Muni 332. It's right there in black and white. Construction specification for HIR was in accordance with OPSS.Muni 332. Here's a head-to-head comparison. The bottom is directly from OPSS, and surface tolerance starts with after final compaction. It also says if there is deviation, that defective areas shall be removed and replaced and to the acceptance of the contract administrator. Why was surface tolerance not checked after each compaction? I cannot say what's in the contract, but I do know Councillor Leduc strongly suggested end result testing.
But I would definitely recommend end result testing.
As I mentioned before, I know a little, but not everything. That is why I ask a lot of questions and Google things. Sometimes I even go to the library.
I had a question because during the council meetings, unfortunately Mr. Luke isn't here, he pretty much insisted on end result testing.
Yes.
And I wanted to get, they were testing and testing and testing, so what exactly is end result testing? When is it done?
Yeah, ERS is the test procedure where you look at, you set the parameters, and then you look at the end results. So if you have gradations where you missed it on this test, you're off a little bit here, but you got it on this one, you missed it on this one, but you got it in this one, this one, and this one, then you average them out, and it's an end result of 10, for example, 10 tests.
So
they didn't do that here. They did ERS, but they took each test and created deficiency for each one rather than averaging it together.
Okay, so if I can clarify my question.
Yes.
So the testing, do you typically do it at the end of a run or at the end of every day?
No, we do it every day.
You do it every day.
So, my question was answered. They do daily testing. So why then was WSP not doing surface tolerance testing daily? Why was it only done after RSR had left town? Sorry WSP, but you dropped the ball again. How's being a global company make you better? I have been monitoring the road since the report came out. When it was first noticed that chunks of asphalt had come out near 3rd Avenue in the westbound lane, I took pictures. As indicated, I took this just past 3rd in the westbound lane. For those that don't recognize the tool, it's not for asphalt, but I needed something measurable, so I grabbed a small carpenter's square. Now, this square is only approximately 7 inches by 8 inches by 10 inches. So the hole looks large. But it's not that deep. Frank Krupe explained at another OTOCI meeting that this is a tie-in end. So it's intentionally not the full 50 millimeters. What you can't tell is I checked and there was asphalt underneath and the carpenter's square is barely half an inch deep. Today is February 1st and I took this photo today. I drove through deeper potholes on my way to this location. Potholes in the conventional paving done after the HIR job, but before December were not filled, yet again. The city has wasted taxpayer dollars to fill in what's 3/4 inches deep with cold patch we all know is going to pop out at the next snow blade pass. I'm sure the city has had the pothole crew take pictures to again try to discredit the work. Everything Frank Krupe predicted is true. He said the only areas he expected issues with were the tie-in ends and the cold mix packed core holes. The other ones are holding up just fine. And the core holes. Well, I went back to one set that still isn't noticeable and I sent the photo to Frank. He said the reason these don't look like the other noticeable core holes is that they had just heated up that section before the city shut them down, so the cold mix must have heated up enough to bond with the rest of the hole. During my 60 years, I've become somewhat of a jack of all trades. What I know about drill bits, particularly hole saw bits. While many may have done holes in wood, wood is not as dense as asphalt. I have used diamond drill bits, which work pretty much the same as the core hole bits. Because of the speed and density, it has to be cooled with water, which you can see in the photos. As with winter pothole patching, using cold mix when the asphalt is wet doesn't work well. Well, it doesn't really work at all. This photo was also taken today. Compare it to the same spot on December 22nd last year. I sent this to Frank Krupe, and he explained the reason the holes are stable is because they had just started heating up the road to do another section when they were shut down. This just furthers his claims that the issues with the road are caused by the city, not his process. But now that the report has claimed the road will require more maintenance, costing the city more money, I'll check with him later to see if they've sent him the bill. I have dash cam footage, and they filled a lot of small gaps to justify filling in the holes they caused. Frank Krupe has been transparent from day one, which is way more than I can say for the city, denying freedom of information and WSP. With Hoda Sedek telling me the city has more information than she does. Which makes me wonder who really wrote the report. I've checked out her other publications, and let's just say, I've seen her do way better than this. Why she would not even say she wrote the report. She just said the report bared the company logo, so it came from their company, not her. While I like these sayings, I actually prefer. I don't like to repeat gossip, so I listen very carefully. I can do OPSS.Muni332 all day, but for now, I want to address this graph. It's on page 16 and is supposed to represent the summary on page 15 shown here. There's just one tiny little problem with it. No, it's not the fact that the road section has changed for the third time. It's that WSP admits they were only present for 9 measurements, and the graph has more than 9 points. Okay, I lied. It's not a tiny little problem. It's another bold-faced lie that they hoped no one would read 94 pages to find. I'm sure if you have a kid in grade school, even they can figure out with 2 measurements of exactly 4 millimeters, there should be a minimum of 2 dots on the 4 millimeters line. Perpetuating their lie. WSP said that the city would provide the rest of the measurements. So, how can they call themselves a third party when, now, they aren't even a first party to the witnessed information? How can we be certain 3% of the road has a 6 millimeters deviation, and better yet, where